for you and keeping you posted on as to what is going on here today. And this is pretty much what we're seeing here is the Democrats, they're continuing to press for emergency aid to states. That is really what they want to do here, so they get those big kind of Democratic figureheads that we see. I think this is a big part of it. Like, get these Democratic people who are in charge here in these big cities some more stimulus so they can actually probably provide it and close some of their budget deficits. And it's definitely a very, very, I think, appropriate thing to do given the current situation. So, yeah, these top Democrats and Republicans, they haggled on Thursday over the remaining hurdles to an emerging $900 billion stimulus deal, with Democrats making a last-ditch effort to use the package to deliver more emergency aid to states struggling amid the pandemic. But that's a fine thing to have in a relief bill. But what you do need, I think, at the end of the day, is that cold, hard, direct checks, baby. You need those direct checks. It's very, very important, I think. So, with Congress running out of time to deliver another round of relief to Americans to stave off a government shutdown, again, reporting here from New York Times, Speaker Pelosi reported more momentum toward a compromise that could be ready as early as today. We made some progress this morning. Pelosi of California told reporters at the Capitol, asked if final agreement will be announced within the day. She said, "We'll let you know." Great. The plan under discussion would provide a dose of badly needed relief after months of stalled negotiations amid a national public health crisis that has killed more than 307,000 people. So we're going to have to very, very, very closely to scrutinize and really razor focus like what's in this bill. But I think it's also worth noting the fact that this has taken so long in the first place is absolutely scandalous, and is really, really just a sign of the rot that is in our government. It's just how none of the two parties in the two-party system at this moment in time are actually even close to being equipped to being able to help normal people. So what we have here is a new round of stimulus payments, probably $600 to American adults. It's gonna be great. As Steve Mnuchin said, that could cover rent. Ooh. A temporary infusion of enhanced federal jobless aid of around $300 per week. That's the plus up there. And rental food and assistance. It would provide a loan program for struggling small businesses and provide funding for schools, hospitals, and the distribution of the vaccine, with plans to merge a final agreement to a sweeping omnibus government funding package. Congress may have to approve another stopgap spending measure to avert a government shutdown on Friday while negotiators put the finishing touches on the stimulus deal. So Senator Mitch McConnell, Republican of Kentucky and the majority leader, warned Republicans on Wednesday they should prepare to remain in Washington through the weekend. I hope it wouldn't be more than 24 to 48 hours, to Senator John Thune. I think it's really coming to a close. Again, we wouldn't want to inconvenience you. So 48 hours goes, feel free to leave. It's completely okay. It's not like you really need a deal here or anything. No, not at all. But it does seem like there has been a bit of a positive development here. But I really think the bet, like for all things stimulus negotiations, I really do go to rising on this. They are very, 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 very good when it comes to the just coverage of this from March, from pretty much from day one, about a lot of what's going on here. So, and just some of the inherent inequities that we have continued to see throughout this. And we are, so we're gonna get a little bit up. We're gonna take a little bit of a look at this here. So let's see if we can find anything about this, we definitely will for you. And it is very, very important to get this up and running. So this is them on kind of the new jobless. Let's see if we can get this new jobless. Actually, we'll just go with this. Let's do some live rising here.
Good morning, everybody. Happy
on the
Thursday.
show.
We have an amazing show for everybody today. What do we have, Crystal?
This is about Bernie clashing with Joe Manchin.
The transit crisis that is already here and how bad it could get, what it's going to mean for cities, what it's going to mean for workers, and all of that. One of our favorites here on the show.
And Pete Buttigieg is the transport secretary, but we'll skip ahead here.
They call it a marriage penalty. There's not going to be a marriage penalty within this one. So that's what we can have right now. Look, $600, it's not a lot. It's not going to cover anybody's rent, any of that, but might be able to boost some consumer spending on something. And I think that, something is better than nothing, and that's where we're.
Yeah, and that's definitely like really where we are at here. Something is better than nothing. It's going to be really important to like get this federal assistance was going to expire over Christmas and the New Year's anyway. That's going to be super, super important to get that fixed there for the average American. That is something that is incredibly important. But this is not something that we should definitely see as over here. And it's going to be interesting to break it down with Bernie going over, kind of going back and forth with Joe Manchin over stimulus checks for people on this. And this is why I love Rising. I always want to throw a little bit of Rising rank here. I apologize for the little bit of the rough transition there over live from the New York Times to Rising. But we will do this, and then we'll talk about AOC here. So
we are right now.
Yeah.
However, there are opponents to even this on Capitol Hill. Some of them are Republicans. Some of them are Democrats. Senator Joe Manchin. Let's throw this up there on the screen. Bernie Sanders and Joe Manchin apparently got into a, quote, heated exchange on a private Democratic call yesterday. Sanders was insistent on more generous stimulus checks. Manchin saying firm in favor of robust unemployment insurance. Crystal, this is the perfect example of austerity mindset.
Yes.
You don't have to pick, especially in the middle of a global economic crisis. Any dollar that you spend right now is going to be made up 5 to 10 times in the future in terms of what you don't have to spend or the cost that you're going to suffer if you don't dole out more right now. And Joe Manchin.
That is such a great way of, I think, putting it. It's just people like, worrying about like the state of our economy in the future is like we pay like that is such a disingenuous cover for people who, there of course, are people who actually believe it, but for the people who actually know better, it's such a disingenuous cover for people to really just continue to pass things like the corporate liability shit, which is like what people like Mitch McConnell who would say this type of thing, that's all they want to do. That's all they really care about. Like the corporate liability shield is Mitch McConnell's like best friend, his only friend, and really all he really wants to stimulate in any way throughout this process. Like that is perfectly clear through all of his actions and all the Republicans' actions. And the Democrats are like, maybe we could do something, but we can't do too much. We don't want to go too far. Like it's gonna be very scary for us. Oh, we can't. Like the voters are gonna get mad at us in the future. Like it is a just absolutely, I think, insane way of looking at things here that is really only gonna get a lot of people in more and more trouble. And as Sagar and Jetty said there in that clip, from Rising, Crystal Ball and Sagar and Jenny on the Hill, he was just like, it's going to be such a boost to the economy when people actually get back to normal, which we do know now for sure is coming relatively soon, maybe in the summer, if things go well, and you provide this stimulus relief so that people can lock down sufficiently, it will be paid back into the economy quicker. This is such a poisonous mindset, a poisonous cycle that so many people are in, and it's just really, really disturbing. All right, we'll talk about AOC next. Hope everyone out there is enjoying their snow day. Especially if you are over on the East Coast with a big snowstorm. Hopefully nobody lost too much power. Maybe get out there and do a little bit of shoveling. Who knows? But thank you so much for listening to this snowy edition of Newsflash. We're following up today on a little bit of a controversy that was present last time on the show. And it was about, of course, this whole stimulus, or not stimulus, but Medicare for All. So pretty much AOC spoke with Jeremy Scahill on the Intercepted podcast, and Aida Chavez has a write-up of it in The Intercept. So AOC pretty much believes the Democratic Party needs new leadership, telling The Intercept in an interview that's time for House Speaker Nancy Pelosi and Senate minority, as of now, hopefully things change in January, Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer. They should go, but the left, she says, currently has no plan on how to fill the subsequent leadership vacuum. If you create that vacuum, there's so many nefarious forces at play to fill the vacuum with something even worse, which is true. Pelosi cruised to re-election in a virtual caucus vote last month and will face a full House vote for the speakership in January. She's just pretty much expected to remain speaker, but has almost no room left for error after a disastrous performance in the general election cost the caucus at least a dozen seats. And that is, of course, what makes, as we discussed last time, the feasibility of a kind of progressive coup possible. So with a single-digit majority, she can only afford to lose a handful of Democratic votes on the House floor, or else she'll be short of the required 218, which would throw the contest back to the caucus. So the rest of Pelosi's octogenarian leadership team, Majority Leader Steny Hoyer and Majority Whip James Clyburn, has held the top positions for over a decade and won their slots without any opposition. On the Senate side, Schumer won re-election unanimously. Ocasio-Cortez argued there are no viable alternatives for the House and Senate leadership at the moment because the caucus's current leaders spent a number of years concentrating power without any real grooming of a next generation of leadership, because that is who they are. Like, that is the most insane part of the House Democratic and just entire Democratic culture, because there is such a just powerful combination of incompetence on one side, and just deep entitlement and arrogance on the other side. So you got people like James Clyburn and Steny Hoyer and Nancy Pelosi who see themselves as like the most virtuous, smart, left-wing, progressive, fair-minded people in the world as they get into their 80s, and people who came in with them like Dianne Feinstein start to have to get pushed out because they have Alzheimer's. Like, that is a huge signification of just how just crazy our politics is at this point. It is, and it's going to be interesting. Like, they don't even want to like hand the crown over to someone like a Hakeem Jeffries, who is like one of the lower people on the rungs of leadership, and has the same type of politics. But they're just like, no, it has to be us because we're the best, and we will rule until we die. Because like that's the funny part. They don't even care about like passing it on to the younger people like Republicans do. Like, it has to be them in specific. Like, even if they make a mistake, even if there is no sense of like public accountability in any way, no sense of just anymore stepping up and saying, I am accountable for my failures, and I have to make the decision because it's the right thing to do. It's because I screwed up, and I'm holding back a common goal and a common purpose, because there is no common goal or common purpose. The only purpose is their own advancement and their own like protection of their own position. Like, that is all that they're trying to do. That's all they're trying to go after here. Ocasio-Cortez says a lot of this is not just about these two personalities, but also about the structural shifts that these two personalities have led in their time in leadership. The structural shifts of the power in the House, both in process and rule, to concentrate power in party leadership of both parties, frankly, but in the Democratic Party leadership to such a degree that the individual member has far less power than they did 30, 40, 50 years ago. It's really kind of insane what they've been able to do in terms of just authoritarian, like just making sure that they have control over the party over as many aspects as possible for as long as possible. The dynamic is what pushes the really talented members of Congress that do come along to leave or run for statewide office instead. But Pelosi has also indicated that this upcoming term could be her last, and the left is in really making a plan for that. Either Ocasio-Cortez added. So I do think that is something that we really need to think about. I think she's probably right about that. Like, you're not going to be able to oust Pelosi. You could definitely extract some sort of concessions for her, and withholding her vote, or withholding her speakership, because they need the votes of the progressives. But in the end, she's still going to be speaker, and at least for 2 years. But that does leave you actually 2